Let me begin by thanking ISIS Malaysia and its partners for the privilege of joining you once again at this annual Roundtable. We gather at this pivotal moment in global affairs. It seems as though I'm always saying that it is a pivotal moment, but the truth is that observation describes exactly what we do. In a world of non-stop headlines, we measure the weight of each moment, and we see the enormity of its implication on tomorrow. We trace the steps from one event to another and chart the progression of history. But what I would like everyone to remember throughout the discussions scheduled over the course of this roundtable is that we are not simply observers. We have a duty to each other, and we have a role to play as a citizen of this world. This is the philosophy underpinning Malaysia's global outlook. Having been called to lead ASEAN this year, we have now passed the halfway mark and are actively building on momentum of the past 6 months. We do this in pursuit of a future for Southeast Asia that is fair and bright for the diverse peoples of this region. A future that is not shaped by, but instead overcomes the anxieties of our current global landscape. We do this, ladies and gentlemen, bearing in mind the core values of inclusivity and sustainability. Let me explain why these are our two anchors. Firstly, the only way to course correct in a world increasingly defined by May 1st, the national and cultural trajectories is to foster inclusivity. And the only way to ensure a long and safe future, the prospects of which are currently endangered by the rising seas of climate change, is to make sustainability the lifeblood of everything we do now. Indeed, chairing ASEAN is an immense responsibility, especially now. Multilateralism is buckling under the pressures of isolationism around the world. It is a world such as this we must resist the temptation to retreat into narrow nationalism. ASEAN's future cannot be built on the exclusive interests of each member. It must be rooted in our shared commitment to the ASEAN community. Ladies and gentlemen, no issue has tested ASEAN's sense of moral responsibility as much as the crisis in Myanmar. The crisis continues to inflict suffering on the people of Myanmar, destabilize regional security, and challenge the credibility of ASEAN itself. The blowback that neighboring countries have received from this is undeniable. The Southeast Asian nations are facing great pressure from the combined threats of transnational crimes, job scams, and an increasingly urgent refugee crisis. With each day that passes, we are taking decisive steps to ensure a pragmatic resolution. Our goal is to enable sustained engagement with all stakeholders in Myanmar, enhance coordination of humanitarian aid, and demonstrate ASEAN's seriousness in pursuing a pragmatic resolution. Indeed, pragmatism is the heart of how the nations of this region engage, not just with each other, but with the world at large. The past few months have tested our will as Southeast Asia finds itself once again caught in the economic crossfire between superpowers. But there is more to our role than that of the bystander. As I have said before, we must be the speakers and not the spoken for. It is a new Cold War, and we must, as we always have, adapt and overcome. But to do this, we must adjust our outlook. When I say we, I'm no longer referring only to Southeast Asia, but to the entire international community. We are in need of drastic overhaul of some of the expectations that underpin multilateralism, including there is some point at which the world will return to normal or at which we will establish a new normal. These times are behind us, ladies and gentlemen. We have entered the post-normal, and disruption and disorder are to be expected. It is time for us to stop pinning the weight of our hope on any other partner to carry us through instability, but instead to nurture the kind of international cooperation that enable us to support each other, to future-proof the global order by making it truly global. Ladies and gentlemen, there can be no thriving economy without peace. We have seen war and conflict disrupt global trade in ways that should already have inspired significant change by now. We are not immune to the turbulence beyond our waters. Conflicts outside the Asia-Pacific, whether in Europe, the Middle East, or Africa, are not abstract or distant for us. They echo through energy markets, food supply chains, arms procurement, migration patterns, and global investment flows. They shape inflationary pressures, strain public sentiment, and test the resilience of multilateral cooperation. These external conflicts, ladies and gentlemen, challenge the frameworks that underpin peace and security in our region. As I said earlier, we have a duty to each other as citizens of the same world. This not only means a duty to engage in dialogue, but a duty to voice out when injustice becomes the norm. Gaza, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot forget Gaza. Representatives from Malaysia, including myself, have repeated its name on the world stage till our throats have gone dry, very dry indeed. And yet, day by day, the bombardments continue. We will not see the end of this for as long as members of the international community continue to excuse genocidal actions as self-defense. Almost 2 years ago, when this violation of international law began, we warned that it may grow into a regional hot war. And indeed it has, when Israel escalated the conflict by launching offensive strikes on Iran. Malaysia condemns this attack. We view it not only as blatant escalation of violence and agitation for war, but also as a further destabilizing action in an already unstable regional dynamic. The economic fallout from these attacks is clear to see. Global oil prices have already surged as stakeholders expect major supply disruptions. Ladies and gentlemen, my final point for this evening touches on pressing concern, the evolving strategic calculus in Asia-Pacific amid increasingly unpredictable global environment. The Asia-Pacific remains one of the most dynamic regions in the world, a hub of economic growth, innovation, trade, and connectivity. For policymakers in this region, the calculus is increasingly complex. How we respond to crises beyond our borders and how we insulate our region from their consequences will determine not just our economic trajectory, but the integrity of our regional peace architecture. It is in a world as interconnected as ours, we cannot afford to become inwardly obsessed, ladies and gentlemen. We have already seen what happened when countries abandon kinship with their neighbors and allies and withdraw from multilateral collaboration to pursue me-first mindset. Humanity is facing threats that endanger us all. The many perils of climate change and the constantly evolving dangers of unregulated tech. The world has also only recently emerged from 3 years of severe health emergency. Under such existential pressures, we must keep multilateralism alive, but we also have to ensure that the way we do it changes. Ladies and gentlemen, in closing, let me reiterate my congratulations to ISIS, Malaysia, and its partners for convening the 38th edition of Asia-Pacific Roundtable. I wish you all the best and productive Roundtable talk. Thank you very much.